Ate, balita namin tapos nyo ng Field Study 1.
Mahirap po ba yun?
Ano pong mga kailangan gawin?
Ganito, ikwento ko na lang sa inyo yung experiences namin during Field Study 1.
Professional readiness is essential for future professionals to succeed in their careers. As pre-service teachers, field study courses are one of the most significant highlights of our teacher education because they provide substantial exposure to our future workplace. All the knowledge and skills we had acquired in the previous years are expected to be demonstrated in the present as the foundation of our professional competence. The activities we undertake in this course can have a significant and lasting impact on our professional growth. As a first-of-its-kind experiential course, it will allow future teachers to immerse themselves in an actual classroom and learning environment. The course will directly observe teaching-learning episodes, which will help apply education theories learned in the content and pedagogy courses. Paying close attention to various aspects that can affect the outcome is crucial during the learning process. Therefore, it is essential to observe learners' behavior, motivation, teachers' teaching strategies, classroom management, and assessment in learning. By focusing on these areas, we can gain better understanding of the learning process and identify areas that need improvement. Pre-service teachers must explore and observe to understand the interconnectedness of each worksheet.
So the worksheet 1 is entitled Teacher's Knowledge on Context and Pedagogy. It focuses on the pedagogical context knowledge that recognizes the importance of teachers within and across curriculum. Under the observation report, FS students needed to indicate the learning principles and strategies or techniques used by the teacher during the process of learning. Under the analyzed part, FS students needed to identify if the learning principles are appropriately applied by the teacher and if the teacher's communication strategy is appropriate to the level of the learners. While in the reflection part, FS students needed to identify what is or what are the most important learning principles of learning. FS students are also needed to share their insight on what have they learned in the class activities during the observation. So under in the evidence parts, FS students must insert pictures so that because it will serve as a proof that they truly undergo an observation.
Field Study 1 Activity 2 is all about my ideal learning environment. In this activity, you need to know the availability of facilities, how you describe it from what you observe, and also what will the contribution to the student's learning and development. You will also answer the most and least useful facilities, describe the community where the school is located, and what are facilities found in the community that aid learning. Also, you need to answer what classroom management strategies were utilized and what management strategy did the teacher utilize to keep the learning environment safe and conducive. You also need to analyze when do you consider a facility aids learning, what is the impact of environment to the learners, and what kind of classroom management is conducive to learning. Lastly, you have to reflect if you would like to teach school environment you just observed or remembered. If you are the teacher, how can you make the environment conducive to learning? And how do classroom management impact learning? And also, if you are to design a learning environment for your students, how will it look like?
Study 1 Activity 3. This activity is all about diversity of learners. It will provide the opportunity to observe learners of different age and grades levels virtually. It includes the preschooler, primary level, and secondary level. You are also going to highlight the different and their characteristic and needs. First to do is to observe the class behavior in virtual class. Second, describe how the classroom is structured or designed to allow everyone to participate in their learning activities. Lastly, you will reflect on how classroom management affects in their learnings. However, this activity also was about PPST Domain 3. Diversity of learning provides the opportunity to understand learner how differences in their gender, racial, and cultural, and learn about the practices and strategies that the teachers use in dealing with the diversity in classroom. Additionally, this activity distinctness of a learner a diverse classroom. Overall, this activity helped the students and teachers to develop and improve themselves to acquire in the individual differences and preferences. It also analyzed the impact of virtual teaching and learning diverse learning.
Field Study 1 Activity 4, the Teaching Learning Resources, ICT in the curriculum. In this activity, we have to identify the type of curriculum that exists in the BUED schools or laboratory integrated schools and list the example of the type of curriculum, where located, and the description of it. We need to pair or compare with a lesson plan we borrowed or downloaded and note the observation on how the design was implemented or translated into a daily lesson to meet the curriculum requirements. The elements or components of a curriculum planning the daily lesson. Also, we need to use the borrowed or downloaded lesson plan and try to dissect parts and identify what resources, including ICT, were utilized to facilitate teaching learning process and list the ICT and non-ICT resources that being used. We also need to observe a class and list down what did you notice about the flow of activities and the congruence of each activity to the objective or intended learning outcome. We have also need to analyze how did you know that there exists such curriculum in the BUED schools or laboratory schools. How can educational experiences be effectively organized and contribute to the attainment of objectives or intended learning outcomes? From the lesson plan, analyze, evaluate the resources and compare it with the resources in the virtual learning environment. Lastly, we have to reflect as a pre-service teacher, how do you plan, manage, and implement developmentally sequenced teaching and learning process to meet curriculum requirements in the varied teaching context? How do you set achievable and appropriate learning outcomes which are aligned with learning competencies? How do you plan, manage, and implement developmentally sequenced teaching and learning process to meet curriculum requirements and varied teaching contexts? How do you set achievable and appropriate learning outcomes which are aligned with learning competencies?
Study 1 Activity 5, Assessing Learning Outcomes and Reporting Feedbacks. In this activity, you have to list all the forms of assessment tools used, all the summative assessments that you have observed, and the art of questioning did the teacher consider in this activity. You need to interview teacher from BUED or PSU-Lingayen on how they compute the learner's grade and the criteria they do consider. You need to analyze why there is need to evaluate learning, why teachers need to record the results of assessments, and how the teacher align the tasks and assessment tools with the intended learning outcomes. Also, you have to know if a teacher uses scoring rubrics and evaluate the performance, and if the learners encounter difficulty answering teachers' questions. And what are the challenges that teachers encounter during the computation and reporting of grades to parents. And lastly, you have to reflect as a future teacher on how the assessment process will help you. How can you eliminate fear of assessment in students given that this new normal mode of teaching? And if you are a teacher, what solutions could you offer to address the challenges in evaluating the performance and giving feedbacks?
Field Study 1 Activity 6. This activity will include lectures in a form of a webinar and online interview with teachers who are practicing their profession. The webinar focuses on community linkage, teachers' personal and professional attributes and development, and the importance of their involvement to research and extension activities. The 21st century skills of a teacher, which now he or she engaged in develop, possess, will be given emphasis.
At yung journey namin during
First and foremost, we would like to express our sincere gratitude for our field study mentors, Ma'am Beta G. Cruz and Ma'am Kathleen Vicaroda, for providing invaluable guidance, support, and inspiration throughout this course. The extensive expertise and thoughtful feedback push us to sharpen our thinking and grow tremendous insight. This course would not have been possible without their help.
In addition, I wish to acknowledge my field study groupmate, those BANI and BUED members, for their collaborative spirit and intellectual contribution to this group. Our engaging discussion and shared motivation as a team made this experience both productive and enjoyable. I am grateful to have gone through this process with such wonderful partners, and I hope we all the teaching interns will succeed through this journey.
Finally, we would be remiss not to acknowledge the future generation interns who may build upon this work one day. To the curious students and restless interns who are seeking real-world experiences, may you find inspiration in these pages. We hope that this course lights as a spark for you as you craft your own fascinating field studies and move our collective knowledge forward. Our instincts extend to all who played roles, big or small, in this rewarding endeavor. The BANI and BUED School are happy and grateful for this.